Session Part 2.
Now this is where we'll talk about the theme of your campaign as the first topic. And what this means is what kind of campaign are you running? We've talked about it before, but this is where we'll talk about in depth. So are you running a murder mystery, political intrigue? Is it gonna be all about RP and less about combat, more about combat or less about RP? And now is a good time to like think about that and talk to your players about it.
It's also a good time to ask your players what kind of themes they want in your world. So, if they want to have, I'm right into RP. I know you're doing a combat kind of world, but can we have an area that's really RP? Or can we throw some of that in? It gives your players a chance to say what they would love to see within your world. Yep.
Yeah, because you can always adjust it after receiving this feedback, because everyone wants different things, and it's nice to cater towards that.
Yeah.
At least give them a main focus of what the theme of the campaign is, because you could say it's going to start out as a more medieval thing, but if people want to be like, oh, I want to go into more the sci-fi kind of stuff, you could always shift into that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Teleport through a portal to a different dimension, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change it. But it's just a nice thing to give your players a heads up, because I've been in a campaign, different RPG, but at the start of the campaign, I didn't know what was going on. Were we supposed to shoot stuff? And then I later discovered, there's a lot of RP involved. I wasn't prepared for it or mentally prepared.
Yeah.
Because I had to all of a sudden switch focus into, alright, so I'm going to have to talk to all these people, take notes, and use what information they give me against another person.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, so discussing in your zero session what the theme of your campaign is going to be is fantastic. Vampires for, Curse of Strahd. It says on the top that you're getting vampires, you know what you're in for before you actually sit down with it. If you're running a book itself, that's fine. Most of your players will be able to have a look at that book and understand what you're running. But if you're homebrewing your world, or you're throwing some random themes in there that aren't usually put in there, it's always a good heads up to let your players know.
Yep.
About expectations. So this is a great topic to have, because as a player and the DM, you can both have mismatching like expectations out of the campaign or just out of gameplay. And it's really good to have this conversation so you can kind of like ground it or make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than going into a campaign and you expecting it to be completely different, or like it's going to be a combat heavy and you've made your character like that, or like you're in that mindset of die, and it turns out to be a social campaign.
Also, it's like Wizards is like, if it's a heavy magic campaign, they're like, I think it's going to be heavy magical, but magic is just put on the back burner, and it's like...
Yeah, or banned.
Yeah, totally. Banned. Yeah. Like, at least then you know how, especially depending the player as well, how confident they are as well. Be like, if it's not that, then they might just be like, whatever.
It's also the expectations of the player from the DM.
Yeah.
They expect you to know the rules, me as a new DM, I said to my players, I don't know the rules. Phil, I asked to sit near me near the DM screen. He has been playing a lot longer than me. I asked him to sit there and help me with rules, so when I had an issue of something I wasn't sure of, I had someone I could rely on. My expectations then were for assistance on the table, and everyone knew that. I'd never done it before. I mean, we're a year in now. I know a lot more now than what I did then, but my first session, it was,
Yeah, because there's a lot to go through, and that's a good point. Not all expectations will be, like, based in gameplay and campaign. Sometimes it's just expectations at the table.
And it also comes down to how you expect your players to be on your table. They're, like we've said before in table rules, was their honesty, their integrity with the dice, the expectation of them arriving on time, the expectation of them giving you a heads up if they're going to be sick, Just all the
Like,
expectations that you would.
Mistakes will happen. Like
Yeah,
nothing's going to go as smoothly as you might expect DM to play or player to DM. Like rules, mistakes, like stuff's going to happen.
Yep.
And you're going to have to expect it's going to happen, but at least try to minimise it or get over.
And that's
Deal
a
with
good
it,
good time in that zero session to sit down with that player if they're new. Say I don't expect you to know all the rules. I don't expect you to come here and have read every book. Whereas the other players that you've played with, like us as a group, I expect us not to be piss farting about with a spell that is common. But a new player, I would expect you guys to help them.
Yeah.
And that's an expectation I would put on the table because we've had more experience than a new player. So it will depend player to player in a zero session as to what you would talk about with them. And that's why another reason why a zero session is amazing to have, especially with new players or a veteran, to say, hey, I've got 4 new players on the table. I'm going to need you, if you're happy to sit with Bob and teach Bob, you've played a paladin 5 times. He's never played one. Give him a hand.
If he struggles a bit, give him a hint. Tell him, hey, you've actually got this ability that would be that you could use in this situation.
And that's a good expectation to put on the table for a veteran to be able to,
Help
give the new guys. Yep.
Also, depending on like your party composition or how experienced your party is, sometimes you'll need, I don't know, like an agent on the other side of the table that can help push forward the story. Because that's one thing I've noticed. Newer players are like, they're so overwhelmed with everything. Like, what dice do I roll? What's a D20? What's a
what spell should I use?
What's initiative? What does this mean? And
social
they get
cues as well. Like
So just if with the more experienced players, maybe talk to them and say, hey, I'm gonna need you to be like picking up on cues and hints that to help me along.
Guide the new players. Say, hey, how about we do a check on that? Or
like, that seems like an interesting door, or
maybe we should investigate.
Well, actually, there was this rumor picked up from the inn earlier on in the session. We should probably go investigate that. That might lead to something. Now help out the DM. It's a two-way street.
And another expectation I would put would be for the veteran to not overshadow the new players. You're a veteran, you've played before. In the first sessions especially, you want to give a new player room to grow, room to, so you want to make your players' presence known on the table as much as they do. But if, Jacob's never played before and I have, it's my turn to guide them into, hey, look, there's a door up there. Do you want to go and check and see if there's any traps? You check that and then I'll check the door. That gives them a guiding clue as to what they're doing in the game. If you don't give them any help, you're going to shine, but the rest of the table's going to die off and leave.
And that's something you did in your campaign, was like, no one is the same class, so there's no way of outshining someone who is the same class, which is very... If you are a veteran DM, try to stick away from a class that someone else is playing, so you're not overshadowing their class. Yes, you might never like that class or don't prefer that class, but give the new person like the spotlight. Like they'll enjoy it a lot more than just being a side character to your character that you know 100%. How to play.
And that's what I've noticed with one of my players, Andrew, who'd never played before. We've all been really good with him and given him his chance to shine, and so he now comes to the table and he role plays the crap out of it because he got that moment at the beginning and guidance from you guys to enable him to, hey, what's that over there? Maybe you should check it. You didn't overrule him or try and outshine him, and that was that's where his growth's come from.
And he's very much good with the loot stuff as well. He's like, whatever you
care
don't
about
want,
loot.
I'll take whatever you guys don't want, which is
that's
refreshing.
That's a whole different bag.
Now we'd like to talk about where the players' line in the sand is, or boundaries. What are they okay with? What are they not okay with? Do they have any kind of issues with certain topics being brought up in the campaign, such as slavery, drugs, sexual themes? Are they okay with other players upping that kind of content?
Murder, like there's the line in the sand is where is your personal line that you will not listen to. You know, if you don't want to hear that topic, where do you draw that line? Where can the dungeon master play up to without offending you?
Yeah, what are you comfortable with being in the campaign? Because everyone has their own set of boundaries and what they're okay and not okay with, and it's really good to find out if what they're all okay with.
Yep.
Because everyone's unique and different, and some things might just not make sense to you, but D&D is all about including everyone and everyone being comfortable and having fun.
So zero session is a one-on-one with the other person, personal, no one else there, and I can say, where's your line in the sand? Where do you not want me to go with drugs? You know, are you comfortable to hear? You know, if you don't want any, that's fine. Just tell me now, and then I'll get that not be in the campaign. If you're like, hey, I don't care, you can take whatever drugs they want, you're fine with it. But when I ask you the same question, you go, I'm not, you know, I had a family member who was addicted, blah, blah, blah. Give me a story and go, I would prefer we didn't have drugs. Then unfortunately for you, we're going to respect this person's request on the table. You won't know who it was because we had a talk on our own. We had a talk on our own, and then drugs won't be in the campaign. It gives that moment for everyone to have that say with the DM, and the DM understand where people are at with each topic.
Especially with no one else in the room. Because, I don't know...
Peer pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Yeah.
The need, the want to conform.
Yep.
You might not know what that is, but the urge to say yes can happen in those situations.
And being judged as well. That's
Yeah.
a huge thing,
you
Especially
know,
if it's friends. Like,
Yep.
you don't want to be judged by your peers. You rather,
and D&D isn't a place to make you uncomfortable.
Yep.
It is a place where you can explore those boundaries.
Yeah.
Like if you've never had, you know, a combat experience with blood and gore,
Yeah.
you know, it might be an okay time to go, okay, well, I'll see how I am with that. At the end of the session, go to your DM, go, I'm not okay with that. Can we tone that down? Or,
Yeah.
holy shit, I'm not fussed by that.
Yeah.
You know, ramp it up a bit, have it raining blood, whatever.
You can tell your DM,
Yeah.
like you said, I'm not sure where I stand on these, and you can just...
Yep.
You can still keep talking about where your boundaries are after the zero session.
Yeah, it's
You
not...
might
yeah.
come across, the DM might include something where you thought, I'm okay with this, and
all of a sudden you're not.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're in that situation right then and there, and you're like, I'm really uncomfortable, I'm not okay, I want this to stop.
Yep.
So you can, if you feel confident enough during the session, you can say, hey, could
Tone it
we
down.
tone it down?
Yep.
Or after the session you say, hey, during this bit I felt uncomfortable.
I left to get a drink,
Yep.
or I went to the toilet because I wasn't comfortable there.
Yeah.
Can we not hit that level
Yeah.
again? There's a DM's job is to ensure that everyone on the table is,
Yep.
you know, comfortable and having fun. A zero session is a good place for you to say, I experienced this in my life. Or you don't even have to say that. You can just say, I do not want any sexual themes within this campaign. I'm you know, it's not something I'm comfortable with. Can we not include them?
If you feel comfortable maybe sharing the reason why you are,
That's
that's
up to
cool.
you.
But if you're not, as a DM, you shouldn't pressure a player into saying, well, I'm uncomfortable of, I don't know, extreme violence because I've been put in a situation
Yep.
and it brings back bad memories or something like that.
I don't
Doesn't-
like dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you might have a phobia of dogs.
Yeah.
Weird,
But
but
me as a DM,
Well, like-
if you know, no,
Well, like,
I'd be putting
that's the thing. People might be like, dog
Yeah.
attacks. I can't like.
it's
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
respect it and
Because
just
there are
move
people
on.
that are afraid of small dogs, and you'd be like,
there's a phobia for
Yeah.
everything. There's a
Yeah.
phobia for phobias. So at zero session is the best time to sit down with your DM in that moment to say, this is something I don't want to run into.
Yeah.
I'm not into clowns. Don't put
Spiders,
Clowns,
or-
yeah. Okay, I'm not okay with spiders, but okay, what if I have giant spiders? Are you
Yeah.
okay with that? What if I have, you know, a person
Ants,
riding
insects.
a spider? Insects instead. It gives your
Yeah.
DM an idea about
Yeah.
what not to do, because I don't ever want to offend any of my players. Like,
Yeah.
I want them to walk away laughing and going, "Holy crap, that was a great session." Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
Anything
about
else
those-
about line in the sand?
No, it's just all about making good memories. And
yeah,
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
it is.
finding people's points that they're fine going down, pretty much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
never be afraid of talking to your DM.
Yeah, and as a DM, be open to that. Don't be afraid of throwing a bit of content out and having to rewrite it, or modifying your thoughts for, okay, I've got this cult that are heavy into whatever, they're a murder cult, but hang on, player X doesn't like that, we'll modify it to be something else. I mean, you're there for them, you're not there for you. So yeah, don't be afraid to modify your campaign to suit a player. So now's a good time to talk about your world info. By that, we're talking about if you've homebrewed your world, your players are sitting at your table, to what kind of world. So Zero Session will give you, hey, we're going to be in a Jurassic period, we're going to be chased by dinosaurs, or hey, we're in that medieval time. Your world info will give you what year you're in, season you're in. It'll give you a backstory about the calamities that have happened if you're going into, deep history. So it's a good time to sit down with your player and give them a good idea about the entirety of your world. How many continents does it have? What do they know within your world? Are they locked to an island and they don't know anything about it? Is that for everyone? Because if you're zero sessioning, then each person will have different knowledge about that world, and then they can come together, collaborate, and have a grander knowledge of that world. So world info will basically be an info dump of times, dates,
where
wars,
the person's from. So saying like, you're from this remote island here, that way they're like, oh, when they see a map, they're like, this is where I'm from, kind of thing. It's also
and
like,
a basic
run
brief
down
history of like the island. This island has been known for staying out of conflict. This is the Switzerland of this world.
It has a volcanic eruption once every 1,000 years, and it's been 999 years since the last eruption. Your people are tentative, whatever.
It's only accessible by a boat that can only be chartered at one particular time of the year, kind of thing. So trade is minimal, but when there is trade, there's a lot of income. So
Do you have like a legend or myth on how the world was created? Was it dragons fighting and creating, I don't know, a big bang, or was it gods were formed in the aether and started creating life? Or...
That's a good point as well. The gods in that world would be coming into the world info. So, Zero Session will say the gods you'll encounter will be in this kind of, theme.
These gods are like the gods that everyone knows about. These are lesser gods, but people still worship them. They're more unique once in a while. These are the gods that people are bad juju gods.
Bad juju. So world info basically encompasses the general knowledge about the world that each individual player would know.
Yeah, if you can ask a random person on the street about the world, what would they know? You don't have to give a massive info dump and burden your player with so much knowledge. Just the gist of the world.
The date, the time, that kind of thing. What season you're in. Like, it brings everyone on the table to that same knowledge base.
War-torn location. If there has been a war in the past 50 years, you could say, hey, it's a peaceful period.
Or if you're at war, who the leaders are, who the conflicts between, what side your party lay on. So if you're,
you're part of the English
Rebellion, or you're with the orcs or against the orcs, it's good information. If you're neutral. But it's a good idea to give your players a bit of solid ground to stand on in their first session. It saves it all being up in the air. Not so much if you're following a manual. I mean, you can give them a little bit of info from the manual that will help them know that world. But if you're homebrewing a full campaign, that's where I'd be doing the world info dump more.
Because as a player as someone who's played in complete homebrew worlds, it can be really disorientating when you just drop there and you're giving nothing to work with. All right, so I'm here, but where is here? What is this place? If I was to, how does this fit into your world? Do I go north? Is it a dead end?
It just gives you an idea about how to play within that world as well.
Zero story. This is a way for you to pretty much fluid your character or your player's backstory into their session 0. So it could be, for instance, what I did in my 0 session was I split up from my companion and then I headed through a desert, and then that's where my backstory ended and my session 0 started. So that was a good fluid way, rather than saying you left town 2 weeks later you are here. It made it, if it was like that, it would be a lot confusing. Like, what did I do in those 2 weeks?
I use the 0 session intro story as a moment to take the player's backstory that they've given me, add my DM twist to it, and give them a story to play one-on-one with me. So the intro story is very much a mix of, you've been given the world info dump, I've been given your backstory dump. Let's mesh those two together and we'll do a small playthrough. That'll be the next video or the next one we do. But yeah, the intro story is very much what I would talk to you about regarding your player as to your backstory versus my world and how they mix together. Yours, for instance, being a shifter that was fighting his chieftain for control, being too young, leaving the world, trying to look into the world as to how to gain more power to take over your chieftain, so you could run the clan the way you think it should have been run without the mix of alcohol that had now been introduced. That was your base story in your backstory mixed into my world. And that's basically, I mean, an intro story only needs to be a small amount, but it needs to put their backstory into your world.
To why
why are you out in my world? Well, here's why.
Which it works well for the 0 session, because if the player has not a lot of information for their backstory, you can at least give them more of a drive to a goal, because some people struggle with backstories.
Yeah, they do.
So,
100%.
It's a good kick in the ass, as you will, to put them in a direction that they might enjoy. They might completely close off and don't want to do that. That's fine. You at least have to see where they're at.
The 0 session being the one-on-one with that player enables you to see if they can't come up with a good base story, or they're not sure how to write. Not everyone knows how to write a good compelling backstory, but they've got snippets of information. Thieves Guild, parents dead, whatever. You can actually fill in those gaps as a DM yourself and say, your parents actually stole from the Thieves Guild, and the Thieves Guild hunted down your parents and they murdered them and took you as a hostage, and you were brought up as a child into that world, so little be known to you. The people you're looking for are who you grew up with. As a kid, you've grown up into this thievery world of the people that murdered your family. It's now that you've found that out, and now you're in the world. You're not sure where you fit. You're conflicted with your emotions because it's that moment of giving them emotions on your table.
Now's a great time to have a small playthrough between you and your player, and this is, like we said, to flesh out the story. If there's any bits that need some extra information, or just leading towards where the actual adventuring hook will happen, and it just sets that up for when you do it.
A 0 session's also good for a DM to sit down with the player. They've gone through their backstory, they've given them the theme, they've given them an intro story. The small playthrough enables them to see where you're at on the table. So, here's some dice. Your story incorporated going through the desert. So in that desert, scorpion pops up out of the ground and you're going to fight them. Let's roll some dice and have a bit of a playthrough together. I then get to see how you play as a player. I get to see where you're at. If you're like, what dice do I pull out? I instantly know I'm going to have to walk you through. And whereas if you pull out, okay, I'm cool, I'm rolling the D20, this is my AC, this is blah, blah, I know 100% you're going to be okay, throughout. So it does give you that moment to gauge where your player is.
And and it's a great time, like you said, if your player doesn't really have that experience, the small playthrough can help you. All right, this is what everything means, and you just walk them through.
Yeah.
It might not be more playing the game, just as a
Mechanical.
yeah, just explaining how everything works. You might not get much done, but
Yeah.
now they know. All right, I kind of know how to play the game. I'm not confident, but now I kind of know what stuff is and how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, I created a character. I'm not sure what these stats are that are in front of me.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a small playthrough. I'll do
Yeah.
a combat scenario with you, and this is where you're looking at your, your
When I say
AC.
initiative.
Yeah, this is your initiative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's both roll.
Just-
Okay, I rolled higher, but my AC is +1. You rolled lower, but your AC is +6. Initiative is +6.
Yeah.
You still beat me with your +6.
Yeah.
And this is how to calculate your to hit bonus, what
Yep.
that means.
Yep.
You know, if you roll a certain number,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you, congratulations, you rolled a 15. Well, its AC is 16, you missed
Yep.
by 1, but if had you have rolled the 16, you would have hit, and it would have,
Yeah.
I don't know, just give them that experience.
Yeah,
that they need.
That way they're more comfortable coming to the table on the first session. They've had a bit of a play. They've
Yeah.
rolled some dice. They're more comfortable with their character sheet. They're more comfortable with their story,
Yep.
like their backstory. Like what I did with you was I took you from walking through the desert to
Yeah.
being grabbed by a
Yep.
dragon,
Yep.
and you were dropped into a cage. Now, every single person on my table had a different start story. You went through a desert, another player was in the ocean as a sailor, they were grabbed off a boat by a dragon, all dropped in the same cage, and that started my session 1, was everyone being grabbed from their 0 session and put into X location as
Yeah.
session 1.
Yeah, it sets up the adventuring hawk. So
Yep.
when you hit session 1, you've immediately got something to go with, because that can be a difficult situation to be in, is not having an adventuring hawk
Yep.
Yeah.
that keeps the party together,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in the next episode more in depth.
Yeah, binding your party. But with the small playthrough, it really does give you a one-on-one moment with your player to find their strengths and their weaknesses,
Yeah.
and to see back to earlier that we spoke to as who do you sit next to on the table. It'll show you like, okay, I need to sit you next to Jacob. Jacob has played a lot. Phil, you're sitting
Yeah.
next to Jacob. Your
Yeah.
best mate's sitting opposite. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
And then I would say to Jacob on his 0 session, okay, I'm going to be sitting you next to Phil. You haven't met Phil, but Phil's playing a character I've seen you play before.
Yeah.
You're really good at it. You might need to teach him how to go through a bit of the character sheets. Are you okay with that? And my 0 session will be not only wording Phil up,
Yep.
but then also wording Jacob up.
Yeah.
Or Bill and Bob, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Becoming quite famous, though.
Yeah,
Oh.
Bill and Bob. So also other things on a small playthrough would be more introduction to your world. So the small playthrough will give the feel on the table of how you're going to run a story. So you can talk to them about it, but until you actually sit down on a table and play a small playthrough, that's going to give that player a really good feel about how you are as a DM. You know, whether you're hard and fast, whether you're going to take your time, whether
Yeah.
you're going to be, good at descriptions, or, lackluster on, hey, you're in a desert, cool, keep walking. Or whether you're going to be like, the sun's hot.
Yeah.
It's beating down, you're sweating.
Perception
The
checks.
sand is
Yeah.
a nice golden yellow.
Yeah, how much detail are you going to go into, and that'll also let the players know what to expect from
Yeah.
you in the future. So, and that's entirely up to each individual
Yeah.
DM as to how much description they want to give.
Some are confident describing everything down to like the little details, and others
Yep.
aren't so much. This is a cave, it's a corridor.
Yeah, welcome to the
Just-
cave. You can hear yourself echo.
Yeah,
Walk forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's also players might not like too much information. They're like, I don't want to know about the colour of the sand. I don't want to know
Yep.
its texture.
yeah.
It's
Sand
just-
is sand color.
Yeah.
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 And a
Yeah, that's-
playthrough will
yeah.
give that
Yeah.
kind of feel as well.
Yeah.
And you can ask them, how much of a description do you want of this
Yeah.
area? I'm happy to describe it into this kind of detail.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
do you not want that description? Where are you comfortable? So there's a lot you can do with a small playthrough
Yeah.
just to gauge where the table are at as a whole.
Also another thing with online kind of zero
Uh,
sessions.
yep.
Since I've done an online one. My zero session was more for the program I used was Fantasy Grounds and trying to teach my players how to use that system more than explain about my world. I think that more came across at session 1
Yeah.
because everyone's more paper and pen kind of person.
Yeah,
and-
so what we've
Yeah.
talked about here is very much being at a table
Yeah.
and being across from each other. Doing it online
is a whole new
completely different.
Yeah,
It
whole
does.
new ball game.
It doesn't feel as personal. You
Yeah.
don't get that bonding sitting next to someone at that laugh and a joke. You still can, but it's
Well, because you're all in the core, you can have webcams, but it's that there's no physical kind of stuff. You're not looking at Bob across the table. You're looking at Bob and everyone else.
Everyone
is in
Yeah,
the
there's
call.
no
Yeah.
subtle winks
Yeah.
or nods, because if it's online, I like the beginning, I tried to do it and I'd wink. Who am I winking to?
Yeah.
And because
Or
like the
passing
webcams are
notes
different.
as well, kind of thing. Like at a table, you could pass a note to your friend and be like, "Let's do this," and the party, the DM would be none the wiser. Fancy Grounds, there's no privacy.
no.
Yeah, you can
Yep.
use private messaging if you want.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
where's the fun in that? If I have to switch to a different thing, that comes back to distractions. Like,
Yeah.
and
I also personally like it being uninvolved and seeing someone pass a note and I'm like, oh, I'll be watching you two closely. What are you doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, like, and if you're good friends, you will subtly pass notes, but like, oh, pass the chips, and you like put the note under the chips, and you be like,
If you're good friends, it just says this is a note, and they're like, "Yeah, you're right," and everyone else is like, "What are they doing?" They're passing a note that says this is a note.
but yeah,
That's
so
paranoia.
table
Yeah.
versus online kind of thing. Personally, it depends what you have access to.
Yep.
Yeah.
I prefer table, but online is doable.
Yeah.
But
I
you
prefer
have
table.
to accept that there will be totally different way of plays than
Yeah,
at a table.
there is certainly a learning experience
Yeah.
going from table to online, or even vice versa.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to change how you operate and how it. Yeah, online you have to be a lot more mindful of other people.
Yeah.
I think the mindful of people is universal, but
Yeah. But
online, you kind of
It gets ramped
Yeah.
up to an 11 because you have to be careful of when you speak, and sometimes when you speak, another person will speak, and whatever you said immediately gets
Gone.
drowned out, which
Yeah.
has happened a lot, and it's really annoying.
it's not just that, it's background noise. Like, at a table, we're all in the same space, so background noise we're all here. Mike might bloody have his microphone on full bull and you're hearing people shouting in the background.
yeah,
You're like,
true. Mum comes in to vacuum, or
yeah.
yeah.
You're like,
But online is a different feel.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, you guys might love online versus at the table. You might not have had that experience on
Yeah.
the table.
But yeah.
Let us know, your preferences
Yeah.
by all means. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
for a small playthrough, it does help to be on the table.
Yeah, on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely.
Now we're going to talk about Story 2 Bind the Party. Now that is a flow-on from your small playthrough. Basically, like I mentioned before, with Phil's character, I had it grabbed by a dragon. I had every player in their individual part of the world grabbed by a dragon and dropped into a cage that binded those party members to not only their own backstory playthrough, but to a holy crap, what happened to me and who are you in this cage with me?
Yeah.
I've done another version where I wrote down on a bit of paper, no, you are the chosen one. If you touch the bottom of this page, you will accept this mission. When they touched the page, it teleported them to a different area. So everyone had their backstory. A random stranger came up to them and gave them a bit of paper. If they accepted, they were teleported. So they all had this random stranger moment, a bard singing, the monk who was in a town punching away at a punching bag had a stranger give him a note. There's a million ways you can go about bonding that party into the same area, but binding that party to the same mission is basically what you want to be doing in a zero session. So when they come to session 1, they're all at the table and everyone's aware about what they have to be doing here. Hey, we're in a cage, we need to be getting out. Hey, I accepted a mission from a dude to see a wise wizard. Whatever idea you come up with, that bonding moment needs to be done from your zero session into table one.
Yep.
So when everyone's at the table, we've all got something to talk about.
It's certainly a great time to set it up, because oftentimes when I've seen new DMs DM, that is the hardest part to manage, because they either haven't written it, don't understand why it's important,
Yep.
and only realise I'm 5 sessions in and I'm running 3 campaigns in the same night because I haven't given the party a reason to stick together.
Rob and Ben want to be mercenaries. Bill
Yeah.
and Jane want to be over there, being bards, having a bard off,
Yeah, and party members will go off and do their own thing, because you gotta understand, you gotta give them something to work with.
Yep.
And if you don't give them something to work with, then they can only do so much on their own. And other times, you've given them everything that they could possibly need to bring the party together, and they're like, don't think I will.
Yeah.
And they just do
No,
it, and that's
yeah.
where you need to make sure that they understand. Once again, D&D is a group game. It's cooperative.
Yeah.
That's where you go back to the party bond we spoke about in part one.
Yeah.
Bonding your party and having each player aware that
It
you
is
know,
a group game.
it's a group game. You're here to play with each other on the table. Yeah, you can steal from each other if you need to, or you can have your own side quests or whatever else. But at the end of the day, you want your party in harmony, or as
Yeah.
harmonious as possible to get missions done.
Yeah.
Are you a I don't know, do you all work for the same guy,
Yeah.
but you've been doing different
Do you work
missions?
for a guild?
Are they currently in jail accused of a crime about to be executed? All of a sudden, the reason to work together is, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I'll trust you, and you can just keep giving them bits to keep them together.
Yeah.
Oh.
The way you bond that party, for me, is very much designed to be with your overall story arc.
Yep.
So if you're creating your own world, you want to drop something in there. So for my world, these guys are quite aware that it's a lot to do with dragons. So for me, I had them all grabbed by a dragon. And let them know straight away, dragons are in my world.
Yep.
Dragons have a major part of it. What are these dragons? Who are they? We don't know. But we're all grabbed from different parts of the world and brought here by dragons. It gave them a common theme. Whether it be dragons, whether it be a wizard, whether it be gnomes, goblins, hobgoblins, you name it, whatever. Whatever the theme of your campaign is. If it's a necromancer, have them dueling a necromancer and teleported.
Yep.
Bam, why am I in a room? What am I doing in a room? Who the hell are you?
Yep.
Oh, well, I was battling a necromancer. Holy shit, so was I.
Yep.
The theme of this is a necromancer. I'm getting chased through the forest by a dinosaur. Holy crap, I was following dinosaur tracks and fell in a hole. Whatever, if it's a dinosaur themed, throw it into your zero session so the players are aware about what they're in for. Whether it be Nazis on a moon base or, whatever theme you've got. That's where your story should bond your party and bind together. You've all got that common theme to find out where does X go, what is Y.
Yeah. And if you don't do that, I can say from personal experience, you won't go anywhere anytime
Or a
fast.
short time bond as well. So this bond only will last us until we get to the next town then, where just say you are criminals together and you escape custody and you move across state, and then you're at this town, you're like, yep, see ya.
Cool.
We've escaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to do.
What can you give them to keep them going? Feed them bits. Okay, they may have been criminals and they might have escaped to this town, but people are still looking for them. There's bounties.
Yeah.
Have they heard information about a guy in a port that can smuggle them out of the country?
Yeah.
And when they go there, they're given a quest.
Yep.
Oh, I only do this if you do this for me.
Yeah.
I don't do stuff for free.
Yeah, and
I work in favours. I can't trust you. You might. Yeah.
just further solidify that bond.
Yep.
And
There has to be a reason for me to work
Yeah.
with you two.
Yeah.
Whether it be for my survival or to find the end goal, or in my zero session I might give you a piece of information and you a piece of information and me a piece of information, and when we all talk we all figure out that, hang on, you're working for X, you're working for X, and so am I, but
you're
none of
my
us were
lost
doing
brother.
yeah. Well, none of us were doing the same job,
Yeah.
you know. If
Yeah.
the conspiracy theory, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
everyone in the party has to have a hook to keep them
Or
wanting to
some sort
keep you around and you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about more in depth because that will be our next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And during that episode, we'll expand more upon this and give examples and more
Yeah.
Yep.
ideas that you could possibly use to band your party together.
As well as keep them banded in case
Yeah.
of player conflict, which we'll get into the next episode.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for watching the video.
Like and subscribe if you
Yeah.
like the content.
We hope you enjoyed, but if you didn't, please let us know down below why you didn't enjoy it, any critiques, criticisms, what you might enjoy about our videos, because every little bit of criticism and feedback goes a long way. We are new at this, and we would certainly appreciate it if you spend 30 seconds just letting us know what you liked or disliked.
How's the tapping sound? Is it good, bad? Can you still hear it? Like,
We got a mic boom for this one.
So hopefully it's to a minimum. Like, we'll see how it goes.
Do you like...
Also, like, if you didn't notice, there might be a small thing in front of Jacob's no longer there. We fix that.
What's that other logo?
Yeah.
Bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we forgot to untick something. Look, we're learning.
Yeah.
We'll say this time and time again. We've started with none of us knowing how to do any of this. This is just something we wanted to do for you guys. So if we can do anything to help, if we're missing a topic, if there's something you want covered, if we skimmed over something that you want more info on, leave a comment below. We will jump on that. We read every comment currently because we don't have a lot of subs, but hopefully it'll get more flow as we go.
Yeah, but like,
may or may not, but we'll be here regardless.
We could go bring a topic on for hours. Like, if you looked at our previous video, like table rules, that was like 3 parts, and we could have gone for longer, but we try to minimize it as much as possible. But
we do. Well, I mean, we're happy to give content where content is wanted. We're kind of just learning, putting our feet in and seeing what you guys might want. So please leave a comment below. Like Jacob said, if we're doing something wrong, we don't know it until you tell us. No use just giving a thumbs down and walking away. Tell us what you don't like so we can improve. If we need equipment or we've got something set up wrong, like there's shine on those books, not sure how to get rid of that yet, I'll work on that. We're working all the time to try and make the content better for you.
Yeah, and that's all we want, is just some feedback, and that tells us how to improve.
Editing side, we're quite aware that the title screens and stuff are quite minimalistic at the moment. We're learning with the editing program. It'll get better as we get better, but content is our main focus at the moment. The editing will come with time. We're looking at doing this for quite a while, so editing.
All you can do is grow.
That's all we're looking at. But so the more feedback you give us, the better off we'll be. All right, thanks guys.
Thanks.
The late thumbs up.